Woohoo, we're live. We'll just wait for everyone to get here. Can you hear me now? Good. Testing, testing, testing. 1, 2. No, not right now. Can you hear me? Okay, let's see. Let's see. Alrighty, let's see. Hello out there. Can you hear me now? Do, 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 do. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everybody. So how's everyone doing today? So what do you guys want to talk about today? Hello, everybody. Sorry for the lateness of this live stream. I know I was planning to go live earlier. It just happened that with work and everything, got home, nothing seemed to go quite as I wanted it to. So I'm like, you know what? Had to push back the live stream a little bit. Michael's, hey dude, sitting down to drink. Oodling here in Taiwan. How's music? Music is really good. I say that's one thing I'll say is music's the best. Like I've just been I want to say I reacted to a song called Please Don't Judas Me by Nazareth last night, and that song is just stuck in my head. That's the only song I can think of right now at the moment. So how's music for you there, Michael? Nice listening to the album Bang from James Gang right now. Always good. Always good, the muses. Yeah. James Gang, I've heard a song here and there by him, but I don't think I've actually ever listened to an actual full album of the James Gang. I really, really dig their song Alexis. I know that's I think that's when Tommy Bolin's in the band. Just a fantastic guitar player. I really love him on the album Come Taste the Band by Deep Purple. That's a kick-ass tune. Yeah, he was amazing to listen to. Like I really enjoy, like, it made me actually want to discover more of Deep Purple, even though he was on one album. Like that's kind of what pushed me towards listening to Deep Purple. Like I heard Highway Star, Smoke on the Water is pretty much like their main hits from Machine Head, and that's pretty much all that gets played on the radio. One of those two songs. But I'm listening to it and it's like, man, they had some killer tracks. They really did. But yeah, like some have also told me to go look at some of these try Lazy off Machine Head. Oh man, I wonder if I have already. Actually, I might not have. Space Trucking, I think I reacted to off Machine Head, but I know a lot of people also say Lazy's really good. Anyway, a lot of other people have also said to go check out Tommy Bolin with a lot of these jazz legends and some of the other bands he worked with. Like, it's amazing how much music he was able to put out in a short, brief time. Lazy's your favorite tune off Machine Head? Oh man. Yeah, I don't think I've heard much of Machine Head. Like I said, the first Smoke on the Water, Highway Star, Space Truckin's the other one I've heard off that album. I thought Space Truckin's probably the better of the three, in my opinion. Yeah, that's what I heard. Like, so many people are like, go check out this guy, go check out that guy with Tommy Bolin. And it's one of those where I just haven't quite gotten around to checking it out, but I really want to because there is, I think there's some really good stuff out of there. Yeah, I was talking to a guitar player friend of mine, and he's like, yeah, you got one of two songs. You got Smoke on the Water, or you got oh, what's the other one? Rock You Like a Hurricane, which is the Smoke in the Water of the 1980s. It's the riff everyone plays. But yeah, I agree. It's massively, massively overplayed. The riff's cool, don't get me wrong. It's a good riff. But after probably 600,000 times of hearing it, I think a lot of people get very bored of it. But it's a really damn good song, though. And Lazy, yeah, I'll have to check it out. Like, it's been quite a while since I checked out anything from Deep Purple. Like, I think the last one I checked out was April, and I really dug that song. I thought it was a really good song. Rainbow, I think I did Catch the Rainbow, Gates of Babylon, Death Alley Driver. Oh, I want to say there's one more in there. Just can't remember it off the top of my head, but I have listened to some Rainbow. And I have to say, like, I'm one of the guys, you can't force me into listening to a lot of stuff. Like, a lot of people have tried to force me into certain bands. I find it better if you just come by it naturally, and that's me with Rainbow and Deep Purple. I said, you know what, I'll find it on my own time. Rush, I found in the last few years people don't talk as much about Rush, so it's allowed me to at least step back and say, hey, what have I missed and what's good in there? I recommend The Devil is Singing Out, our song from Bang, if you want more Tommy recommendation. Yeah, I really like that. I think the only song by Tommy I've done is Alexis from the Chain Gang or the James Gang and Savannah Woman from his solo work. That's like there's some great stuff like that. And the other thing about Rainbow is I find with Dio, I have to be in a certain mood to listen to. I can't just listen to them over and over and over again because I find it gets very repetitive. But I love Richie Blackmore as a guitar player. I think Richie Blackmore guitar. I found myself actually discovering Cozy Powell, and I actually really like him on drums, on a lot of the Rainbow stuff, and I also really like him on that Headless Cross, uh, Black Sabbath era. I really like that song from him. I enjoy more Emerson, Lake and Palmer than Rush. Best concert I ever saw. I can see that. Emerson, Lake and Palmer, three absolute magicians on their instruments. Yeah, I've never checked out. I know there's an album out there called Emerson, Lake and Powell, which I'm kind of morbidly curious to check out quite a bit. But yeah, everyone says Cozy Powell's a hell of a drummer. Yeah, I don't know about Rush. It took me quite a while to get into Rush. Like, I know they play songs up here in Canada, like, play a lot of their hits, and from that, and I also, long time ago, bought a compilation CD of a bunch of stuff, and I think I made it through certain songs, and I was like, I'll set this on the shelf, and I just never revisited it. Oh wow. Yeah, I will check it out. That's the thing. A lot of people have said a lot of, especially when prog bands went to the 80s. I'm really looking to discover a lot of those bands and kind of what they did. Because I think if they would have just kept doing the same old, I think it would have just got boring after a while. Best concert I ever saw is between. Hey Zozo, welcome to the chat. Best concert I ever saw, a tie between Pink Floyd and Queen. Wow. Those would have been two bands probably pretty amazing to see live. Pink Floyd, I've seen concert footage. The closest I ever came to seeing Pink Floyd live is Roger Waters. Oh man, that would have been back in 2007 when he was touring Dark Side of the Moon. Not a. It's the concert where I realized you never want floor seats, which was unless you're within the first. I want to say the first 5 rows. You want that. You don't want floor seats, especially at the old Rexall. My buddy actually found the best seats are you get just that one tier up where you can actually see the stage. Because I had the unfortunate luck of having like a 7-footer sitting right in front of me. And so most of the concert, he was at least really conscious about his height, is that he actually slouched down as far as he could so people behind him could see. But yeah, it was a good concert though. I really had a great time at it. Queen's a band also I've started to go back and listen to, and mostly those first few records, because like everybody, I've heard the hits to death. They're a band you could pretty much, I think, put a nail in the hits and just go back, play their back catalog, and I think people might actually be a little bit more forgiving of Queen. Never saw Floyd in concert. I did see Queen, Killer Queen. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, the floor never worked for me either. 5'7", not good for that. LOL. No. And it really sucks when the front rows stand up the entire time, so you couldn't see above them, and people were screaming at people to sit down. It's the one concert I literally seen people walking out of because of the crowd. Zozo, been a subscriber for a while, but this is my first live time in one of your live streams. Well, thanks to have you here, Zozo. Really appreciated. I started doing these more because I want to communicate more with you guys and see what you guys like, what you don't like, and kind of just do those community streams. And I love talking music, and I think you guys always give me killer suggestions to go look at, so this is also another extension of that. First 3 Queen albums are their best, I believe. Yeah, I'd probably go there. I'm not sure if I'd say they're best, but at least say they're most progressive albums. First Queen album I heard was News of the New World, and I found myself liking a lot more of the B-side material over there, like Sheer Heart Attack, which is weird that Sheer Heart Attack wasn't on Sheer Heart Attack. I always found that weird. Spread Your Wings is my absolute favorite Queen song. It's my favorite. Something about it, like even the first time I heard it as a kid, I'm like, that is a great song. I saw Floyd live in '93 at the Arrowhead Stadium, Kansas City. It was just huge. I bet. And if they're anything probably like Kansas City Chiefs fans, they were probably very loud as well. Because I believe it's between them and Seattle, keep going back and forth in NFL, who has the loudest stadium. That's when and where I saw them too. Yeah, I have a buddy that actually went and seen the Pulse tour, which was their last big world tour they ever did. I want to say we're at least covered a substantial time. I know Gilmore kind of mini toured the Endless River, I believe, but it sucked for Canada because he only came, I think, to Montreal, and that was it. Night at the Opera and Days at the Races are very good as well. I have to say, I haven't heard I've heard The Prophet and Bohemian Rhapsody from Night at the Opera. Days at the Races, I don't believe I've heard anything yet, but I think they are decent records. At least going from that, I want to check more of them out. Let's say. Yeah, I love people that love Renee, all kinds of albums, all kinds of music, different music. It really suck as if all we did all the time was just like the same music. It really would get very kind of boring. I love that variety in music where it's like, okay, I can pick out songs here, here, and it's like anything. We all hear music differently, and that's something that always really appealed to me is people all like different things. It'd suck if we all liked the same thing. But it's really good stuff. Yeah, whether you like rap, pop, heavy metal, classic rock, progressive rock, I feel like I this is really a great community for people, and I enjoy really finding out what you guys like and stuff I've never heard of. Like I mentioned in a previous stream that like I used to think I knew a lot about music, and then all of a sudden I watched Sea of Tranquility and realized very early on didn't know very much about music, but I was at least able to humble myself to say that. Like I know people would go out and just continue their stuff, but I'm at least humble enough to say I thought I did, I realized I didn't, and I really want to educate myself on a lot of different styles of music. Michael, you two are probably new. Wouldn't that be awesome as if you find out it's your neighbor? Like, I live in my apartment complex here, and I know it's gotten better in the last couple years, is getting to know more people. Because used to be in my apartment, like, I could just walk in there, I didn't know any of my neighbors. Plus, it doesn't help that most of my neighbors moved every 6 months, so after a while, it's like, well, what's the point? Love thy neighbor, peace. These songs I've heard so many times in my life, I never need to hear them again. Bohemian Rhapsody, Freebird, Stairway to Heaven. Oh man, there's so many more I would add to that list. Oh man. I'd add Pour Some Sugar on Me by Def Leppard to that list. Like, I never liked the song really too much to begin with. I was in a band that wanted to learn it, and I was learning it on bass, and I'm like, this is the most boring bass song ever. And that's another one you can add. Pour Some Sugar on Me by Def Leppard. Oh, there's so many. Alive by Pearl Jam's another one I never need to hear again. Smells Like Teen Spirit is probably another one I never need to hear again. Oh man, there's so many that have just probably all of Back in Black by AC/DC you probably never need to hear again. There's so many on that list. But yeah, Stairway to Heaven, Freebird, and Bohemian Rhapsody. If I was in a band, I'd say you want me to play any of those songs, I'll win $1,500 just for that one song. Age changes one's taste. Now 60. I do listen to more jazz and bluegrass now than rock. Add Aqualung to that list for me as well. Yeah, I can see Aqualung adding to that list. Personally, up here in Canada, you don't like. I haven't listened to the radio very much in probably almost 20 years. And I remember there's a lot of stuff on there I'm like, I just don't want to listen to anymore. But yeah, I find as I get older, more my musical taste is mellowed. Like even stuff my wife likes that I absolutely hate, I'll actually tolerate it. I'll at least give it a listen. It's like I grew up with this stuff. Some of it I don't like that much, but it's still that's her stuff, and at least show her the respect to at least listen to it. True that. I appreciate more music now than when I was younger. I don't know what it is about people when they're younger. It's like they're so closed off musically to a lot of stuff. I remember you look at a lot of people who are like these musical elitists, and they tend to be younger, and I'm like, why? But the two that I really have an issue with is musical elitists and also gatekeepers in metal that are off like. I'll admit I've never been the biggest metalhead, but I will say there are certain metal songs I like, and I'm like, you know what? And then you have guys coming up saying poser, calling everyone a poser, and I'm like, why try to keep? If somebody likes a band and hey wants to get them recognition, why try and keep them small? It's just one thing I've always really never understood. Michael, true, and as a huge Toll fan, yeah, I don't need to hear Aqualung again either. Yeah, it's really a shame that like most people know Jethro Tull for Aqualung, and some of them will never go discover the rest of his discography, which is really amazing to listen to. Like it's really his discography is actually really diverse, and I actually really enjoy it. I do prog rock, yes, Genesis. Yeah, yes, and Genesis are really good. I've actually found myself as I get older appreciating diving into their discography later because I know I did try a little bit as a want to say late teens, early 20s, and it just some of it I heard, I'm like I don't know. Like I never made it through a full song. Like I heard everyone say, "Oh, close to the edge." Oh shit, is this amazing song? And at the time, I just didn't hear it. But as I got older and started listening to more music and actually sat down and listened to it, I appreciate it. It's a really good song. My favorite band in rock is Tull, but no more Aqualung. Yeah, it's I don't know. Like maybe it's me. Like maybe I haven't been beaten over the head by it. But yeah, I can see how Aqualung, like after repeated listens, would get very tedious to listen to. Oh man, any other songs on that list you guys have that would be some that you never have to hear again? Uh, for me, it was Image. As a hard rocker, no disco, or I would not even talk to you. Back in my younger days, I was closed-minded little shit back in the day. Yeah, it's weird that as we're younger, we're so much into this image, but I look at it now and you look at a lot of the people that like metal, you would never guess. Like, they just don't dress in what most people associate heavy metal with. But to say that they don't like it, that's kind of sad, asinine thing to say. I've been getting into Scandinavian folk rock metal lately. Hellung, Danheim, My Cure. Just always looking for something different, I guess. That's why I rarely ever listen to the radio. It all sounds the same. It really does. Like, man, I went from the radio, and this really shows my age. Uh, Back in the day where MySpace was a thing, and you'd have bands, and they had a little music thing where you could upload your own music. And I remember that, and found a bunch of bands that way. And I found a band that I liked called Miss Crazy through that. Then it went from MySpace stop being a thing, and then Reverb Nation broke out, and listened to some bands there. Like the Sick Puppies. Like, the Sick Puppies were just before they got big. Because that's where I started really listening to them. But yeah, like, you mention anybody now MySpace, and they're probably like, what the hell are you talking about? It's kind of like, what was it? Hotmail back in the day. Messenger. That's it, where everybody used. Mention now, they're like, what are you talking about? Freebird by Leonard Skinner, yes. There is nothing more aggravating than going to see a band play and hearing an obnoxious guy, pretty much an obnoxious prick, go out and say, play Freebird! Like, I've seen bands live in a bar that are literally stopped the show, pointed the guy out, said, you come up on stage and play Freebird. And the guy left. And then they went back on with their show. I think that's the best way they can handle that, is once they know you're not taking that stuff, it's like, yeah. What's your age? Wish I had your age, lol. 33. That's how old I am. Yeah, it's, wow, can't believe. Yeah, it's like you start thinking back on it, it's like a lot of stuff from my childhood's now like 20, 30 years ago, and I'm like, 20, 25 years ago, and I'm like, damn it, don't like this age thing. I found some good bands / artists on Bandcamp. I've never checked Bandcamp out. I'll actually check it out. There's one lady I've heard of, I haven't listened to. Someone told me to completely check it out. It's some lady, Taiwanese folk metal, which is interesting in itself. Like, I've heard, but yeah, I'm just like, wow. So I'm like, okay, Taiwanese folk metal. It's actually something I completely want to react to on the channel and see what the heck it is, because I've never heard of anything like it, and I'm thinking this could be interesting. Have you tried any Guess Who? Great band. I think I've heard most of their hits due to there's a thing up here called the CRTC, where you are, if you're a radio station, you're mandated to play a certain amount of Canadian content per hour or something, I believe it is. It's kind of like musical communism, pretty much. My thought is, if your music's good enough, it'll get wherever it needs to go. But yeah. Yeah, I heard it's great source. Yeah, I have to say I enjoy Guess Who in spurts. American Woman, I will add to that as a song we probably never have to hear again, because I think that song's been almost been played to death. Um, but I really like Them Eyes, No Sugar Tonight. Oh, it's the other one, Share the Land. There's a lot of good stuff in there. Bachmann Turner Overdrive is also another band that I've heard. Let It Ride, Ain't Seen Nothing Yet. Pretty much the hits I've heard I actually really like. Could listen to that all day. That's it. Nini music. That is it. I always thought that was actually very interesting to listen to. Yeah, because I don't know what's up with me. I've just been on a Japanese rock metal kick lately of just listening to nothing but Japanese rock and metal bands and doing reactions to them. And I have to say, like, some of their musicians are really good. Uh, Watching it live, especially, like, I have to say, I think they actually have some really killer bass players over there. Bachman Turner was my nickname in high school. Look at my last name. Yes. Yeah. Triumph, I think, is Canadian. I've heard Lay It on the Line is a Lay It on the Line. Yeah, I think that one I've heard. But I think that's pretty much it from them. I've probably listen to a song down the road and be like, oh, I haven't heard anything from him, and then realize I've heard this. Triumph indeed, another great band. Yeah, like we've produced a lot of really good bands through the years. I know a lot of people give Nickelback flack, but I have to say they fit in so many different genres. I really think it's more, especially up here, when people say they hate Nickelback, I think it's more Nickelback fatigue because it's like that's all you heard from about 2000, 2001, where they broke out until really up until that year where they pretty much got kicked out of playing the halftime show of the Super Bowl. Yeah, Triumph. I think Helix is another band in there that was also big in the '80s. Like, uh, I've never heard of Sash Jordan, or I've heard of them. I just never listened to them. Like, what are some songs from them I should check out? Yeah, and also while I'm probably after this, I'll probably look into Bandcamp, see what they have on there, because I'm always open to finding new bands, as you can tell with doing these reactions. That, and I have probably a massive Spotify list to go through of songs still left to react to, but I always like adding new stuff. Sash Jordan is a she. Okay. Good song to try is Make You a Believer. Okay, I'll check it out. Definitely check it out. Been over 12 years since I've been to a concert of any sort. Live in rural Taiwan. I bet. Yeah, it's even me. Like I'm lucky if I go to a concert once every 2 or 3 years. Like it, there was a stretch there where I seen Black Sabbath, Megadeth Gigantor with Megadeth, Havoc, Suicidal Tendencies, Children of Bodom. I seen Kiss, seen oh, who else did I see? Seen Kiss, seen Uriah Heep at a small venue, which was actually one of the best concerts I've seen. Oh man, Kiss. I feel like and also seen Metallica, that concert they filmed in Edmonton. I was at that concert, and also Guns N' Roses at Commonwealth as well. That was a fantastic show. If you go for nothing else, just go to see Guns N' Roses, because at that night they were on. Like, this is a band where you can tell when you're there. This band would have played for till 3 in the morning. Like, they were just killing it on stage, and you could tell they're having fun. Last concert I was to in 2019, right before COVID, ZZ Top, Cheap Trick opening. Oh man, it sucks about the passing of Dusty Hill from ZZ Top, because that would have been a band I would have loved to have seen. Just seeing live, like, the only songs, it's sad, the only songs I've ever heard of ZZ Top are LaGrange and Give Me All Your Lovin', Legs, and oh, what's the other one? Sharp Dressed Man. That was a great. That would have been great to see. Oh man, Sabbath with Blue Oyster Cult. Ooh, that would have been amazing. I'm just getting into Blue Oyster Cult and have to say, for everything I've heard so far, I really thoroughly enjoy. I really love Veteran of the Psychic Wars. That's one of my favorite songs so far I heard of them from them. Uh, Black Black Blade, I believe it is, as well as another really great song by them. But man, to see Black Sabbath Blue Oyster Cult, would that have been 70s or 80s? That would have been, but still, that would have been a hell of a concert. Black and Blue Tour 81, 82. Yeah, ZZ Top always struck me as a band that would be great to see live. Like, they're one of those bands that no matter how many times, even their hits, you've heard so many times, but they don't get boring. Or at least I don't find they get boring. 1982, that's amazing. EOC was top 5 live for me. Saw them many times live. They're a band I've never seen live, but I'd love to. It's kind of the sad part about Canada is a lot of the bands I'd love to see live don't come here. Mainly because I think once across the border they might not be as big draw, or they just don't want to take the hassle of coming into Canada. But I'd love to see Blue Oyster Cult. Yeah, I was more impressed with BOC than with Sabbath on that tour. 82, that would have been the Heaven and Hell or Mob Rules tour. But I believe it would have been a Dio era, wouldn't it? BOC was for me better that concert. Yeah, I have to say the one time I seen Black Sabbath, I was not impressed. I was really not impressed. It was around that time Ozzy was canceling tours there up in Canada and some into the States for about a week there. And they didn't tell anybody. I think we left to leave there at least a couple hours early because we're like, well, we'll hit the merch line. And as soon as we went into the merch line or went to go to the stadium, we find out there's cops there saying, sorry, no concert tonight. It's been postponed. And I feel bad for the poor family behind me. I've told the story before where it's like a guy said, like, I spent $5,000 to be here. What do you mean it's canceled or postponed? So I always, so it's, and then they came back 2 weeks later, which was great because I had Black Sabbath 1 week and then Megadeth the next. So my hearing was shot for pretty much a month. And they played they had an opening band, I believe it was Rival Sons. That is the shortest concert I ever been to. Like, it was about, I want to say, I think I was out of there by 10:30. Which usually most bands play till 11, 11:30, midnight. Here I was there till 10:30, and I'm like, this feels... And they charged over $150 per ticket for this, so there was a monetary reason why I wasn't very happy with it. Heaven and Hell, yeah. And here comes the train. One of the crappy parts about living next to a railway track. Mob Rules concert I enjoyed earlier, Sabbath. Short concert, loved earlier Toll, 3-hour concerts. That's one thing I will give Roger Waters is he plays the whole concert. You have no opening band. So you get like a half-hour intermission, but pretty much you get 3 hours of music. So I'd say out of that, I like him for that. My mom always told me once she's seen, who was it, Billy Joel, and he played, I think he played like 8 encores. Like, the crowd was so rabid that he played 8 encores. And she said, like, she was kind of waiting because she's like, I have a bus to catch. Am I actually going to be able to catch this bus? And thankfully she was able to make it, but said it was one of the best concerts she ever seen. Yeah, if you're talking about the train, yeah, it's loud. It's been ever since, are they stopping? Haha. Sucks to be you suckers. Because, yeah, once they stop, they're on there, and they don't move for a while, so... they block a railway crossing for about a good chunk of time. And they're stopped. It's fun going to work, and that's the only two railway crossings at that area. And it's been ever since one guy on a little motorized scooter decided he didn't want to live anymore and ran into a train. And ever since then, they've been very adamant on that horn. Yeah, it's one of those weird things, Michael. Once you've been around it enough, you kind of get used to it. Like I've always lived in a city, so there's always something. Here it's really quiet, but yeah, the train is pretty much the loudest thing in town. Yeah, Billy was amazing in Clown. Yeah, Billy Joel. I I've heard Piano Man. I've heard a few songs. I want to actually delve more into his work because I hear a lot of people say Billy Joel is fantastic. Same with few people have told me to check out Elton John as well. That he's also really good. I think I've heard pretty much most his hits, but I would be actually looking to go back, just discover some of his music. The only time I saw a great opening band was when Fairport Convention opened for Tull in '87. Half the band was in Tull at the same time. It was cool. Yeah, it really is. It, it's awesome when bands do that, like where they have a side project, and it's like, you know what? Let's throw the side project up there first. It'd be like the Joe Perry project opening for Aerosmith. That'd be good. Love your plants, bro. Need a few more. Yes, my money tree. It's the closest thing to money I think it's going to grow on a tree. So I have no idea why they called it that. My wife has a couple spider plants, a couple pileas, I believe she said. She's the plant lady. Some people are cat ladies. She's the plant lady. Elton is well worth the time. That's what people keep saying, that certain people are well worth the time to really step back and listen to their full discography. Have you tried Pat Benatar? Great '80s. Uh, I think I've heard. She's hit me with your best shot, isn't she? Pat Benatar. Or damn, which one is? I saw Pat Benatar on her first tour, a tiny little venue, really good show. Was disappointed she short sort of went really commercial after that. Yeah, that was a weird time in the '80s, from what I gathered from people. Like there was a lot of in one day out another groups, and everything was like. I'll always remember an interview Frank Zappa did, where he said, yeah, back in the day where all this supposed great music was being recorded, who were the guys in charge of the record companies? They were the cigar chomping old guys. And then you turn around to the '80s, he was like, yep, uh, they don't know what they like. We'll tell them what to like. And Frank said pretty much once you get back to that entrepreneurial spirit, you'll get music back to where it needs to be. But I could tell from listening to that he did not like a lot of the record industry heads, especially Warner, which he was very adamant on some of his records about. Nice, a good plant lady is a keeper. I have an anti-plant lady. Oh, yes, a plant lady is a keeper. She's like, yeah, they're great. Like, I love them. They just make the place kind of feel home. She has the green thumb. I do not. Mainly because as punishment as a kid, it was always oh, weed the garden, and that's always where I'm like, and anytime it's like work with plants or anything, that's always what reminds me of is punishment as a kid. I'm like, nope, don't like this. Yeah, hit me with her best shot as her. Okay, so yeah, her vocals are off the charts. MTV did that to most, sold out many for money. Yeah, like it's weird. Like even stuff like you'd think people wouldn't really get worked up about. Like a lot of these '80s, there's a lot of ego in a lot of '80s musicians, or maybe more so some of the ones earlier. By that time, it mellowed, but very big ego for some of them. But yeah, MTV was really the worst. It helped a lot of bands get, especially in the metal community, get a lot of exposure, but it also did hurt a lot of bands with their, well, we can't play them on MTV because of the way they look, because we're all about looks now. I can't have plants. My allergist's exact words: if there's a plant that exists in nature, you're allergic to it. Oh my goodness, that would suck. That would suck. LOL, I quoted Zappa at work today. What was the quote? Because there's some of Zappa quotes I absolutely love and always will quote out of the blue at people, and they're like, what is that? I live in a jungle island here in Taiwan. No house plants. We get too many mosquitoes in the house, and I have green everywhere outside. Yeah, I can see it. Like there's green forever. Where I live, it's not too bad. There's a lot of green here. Closer you get to some parts, it's all farmland, so it's flat. The Police, for example, they sold out for MTV. Sad. What a band they were in the early days. That's another band I want to check out. The Police. Like I've heard. Oh, what was it? I heard Roxanne, which I never. That you can add that to the list. Roxanne does never have to be played again, ever. Um. Oh, what's the other one? Same with Every Move You Take. That one, never have to hear it again. But the rest, I'm kind of open to listening. But yeah, there's a lot of bands that sold out to MTV, and then what did MTV go and do? Sold out the music industry to reality television. Spend more time focused on making reality stars than they did actually promoting music. I actually subscribed to your channel when I saw you reacting to Kate Bush, and not even her most commercial songs. Yeah, I heard "Running Up That Hill" about a year before Stranger Things, and because I'm like David Gilmour, I kept hearing David Gilmour and Kate Bush, so I'm like, who's this Kate Bush lady? So I went reacted to that, fell in love with her, heard Wuthering Heights, love that. But also songs like Pulling Out the Pin, Hammer, Horror, so many others. This woman's work, like she is, She's one of those, the more I listen to, the more I'm like, I love their voice. She's different, she's unique. But for some reason, I'm just drawn to her. Zenyatta Madara do the whole album. Agreed about Roxanne. And it's one of those songs where I'm like, it's the most irritating vocal sound that you could really have on someone's ear. I don't get why people consistently want to hear Roxanne. It's one of those. Jim, hey, what's up, Wayne? Hopes all is well here, man. Just enjoying life. Like, went from mine or plus 40 on Friday. We got like a wicked storm come through here. Like everyone's like worried tornado weather, and then last night also got a wicked storm, but it's cooled down quite a bit. So at least they're not gonna be too many of them. Hopefully. We were talking about the project that never seems to end. I called it the Zappa Project. The torture never stops. Yes, that is great. He has some great quotes that I use all the time. Censoring to use I pretty much say to use censorship is like using decapitation to cure dandruff. That's one of my all-time favorite from him. Without progress from the norm, with how does that go? Without deviation from the norm, progress is not possible. And he has one of my all-time favorites. Most scientists believe hydrogen is the most is the building block to the universe because it's the most plentiful. I happen to believe stupidity is the most plentiful building block of the universe because there's a lot more stupid people out there. And I always love that quote by him. There's so many of them that he had, just quick little one-liners. If you listen to your mother, your father, and your priest, that's pretty much, you're pretty much settled with what you got in life. It's really some interesting stuff from him. Wishbone Ash drew me to your site. Wishbone Ash is a band I've listened to a few songs, but everything I've heard I like quite a lot, which it makes me want to go listen to more and more and more and more and more. It's kind of one of the things I want to listen to more, but I also want to continue doing new stuff. It's one of those fine balances, I find. Ghost in the Machine is my favorite album from the Police. That's good to know. Like, yeah, I want to check out a lot of their stuff. I know their one album cover that kind of looks like Electric Clock. Kind of looks interesting. But yeah, I've heard a lot of people talk about the Police and also say that their time together was so short. Like I was watching something with Sea of Tranquility, and they're talking about the Police, and okay then. Yeah, and they were talking about a lot of stuff out there, and just like, yeah, it sucks that the Police's run was so short. Their first album is incredible. Yes, Michael, I will agree that I haven't heard it yet, but I believe you when you say it's incredible. I will say that it is incredible. Because I hear a lot of... Yeah, if you can't tell, I have a very busy road also by me with lots of motorbikes and loud mufflers. The music video for Kate Bush, Love and Anger, actually has David Gilmour and Rick Wright in it. That is something I have to check out. I will definitely check that out. Because as much as I'm a David Gilmour fan, I love Rick Wright's keyboard playing and piano playing. He is one of the best at just having a feel. Like, the ending to Echoes, that trade-off between Gilmour and Wright, is some of the best music I've ever heard. There's also a lot of great trade-offs and trying to think about it. Great trade-offs and Shine on Your Crazy Diamond as well. Great mood album. They Lost Me by Ghost. MTV killed the radio star. Sadly, yeah, they did. They did kill the radio star, and it's one of these things that I've seen interviews with James Hetfield talking also about Napster and how they went after Napster. They took all the flack, but every band back there wanted to go after them, and Metallica just had the balls to do it. And I look at it now and I say, you know what? Did they go about it the right way? Probably not, but did it need to happen? Yeah, it did. Wishbone Ash, Lady Whiskey, The Blind Eye are killer tunes. Yes, they are. From what I've heard people talk about these they probably would be in my stuff here. Like, Lady Whiskey is a song I want to go into. I've heard probably the first 10 seconds of it. Because that's usually what I do when I go to react to something. I'll listen to the first 10 seconds and see, oh, do I like this? I would never sleep there. I have bird sounds and monkey sounds. Yeah, probably not. It's very, very, whatchamacallit. It's very loud. Especially if you're not used to it, it's very loud. But here's not bad. I can never live in Edmonton, which is like probably 10 times the size of this with all those people. There's about 20,000 is about the max for me. And even here, it's very spread out. How long have you been playing the guitar for the Stratocaster, the only electric guitar you have, and what type of amplifier and pedals do you use? I've been playing guitar off and on 2000 and about just about 20 years. I didn't get an electric guitar until I was right around 18. And here, a premier wanted to get reelected, so he gave every Albertan $400. I took it. I went down, bought a guitar. No, the Stratocaster isn't the first guitar I have. I have a J Tercer that weighs like 50 pounds, which I have no idea why they built a guitar that heavy at all. But that was the first one I had. This one I bought, oh geez, 2008, just after I moved out. It was my first big purchase. As far as amplifiers, I have a couple Marshalls. One's MDX 50 watt amp, and the other one's sort of the same thing, the MG X 15 watt amp. It's pretty much like the mini me of my big amp. That's what I use. And for pedals, I really don't have any. Like, I want to get a pedal board, but it's like, I started pricing stuff out, and I think, and it's one of those things after you get married, live together, it's a lot of these big purchases kind of get put down the road. But yeah, just have a guitar, and pretty much like this comes with the chorus flanger, all that stuff. You can set it up, store stuff in there. So I'm like, okay, this isn't bad. I know you like Ian Anderson from Jethro Tull. He plays the flute in a great song from Honeymoon Suite called All Along You Knew from the 80s. Give it a listen if you don't react to it. It's a great song. I'll check it out. I assume it's a great song. I'm just gonna check a lot of these out. Like, I don't know why the hell I can't speak today. I'm just used to saying everything's great and awesome, and I'm probably one of the most positive guys you'll ever meet for music reaction, because I don't hate anything. I think hate's a word that gets thrown around a lot. Like, I hate this band, I hate this band. I'm like, but, and I've said this to people that they're like, well, I hate this pop thing. I'm like, but have you listened to it? They're like, I don't need to. It sucks. It's like, why? Because it's pop. It's like, well, some people like it. Wasn't until I watched classic album series episode The Dark Side of the Moon I really understood just how much Rick Wright's keyboards contributed to the Pink Floyd sound. Yes, there's a reason David Gilmour refuses to do Pink Floyd without Rick Wright. And I know he did one thing, I don't think it was ever meant to be an album, The Endless River. I think it actually went, and once it leaked out he was working on this, I think there got a lot of pressure put on him to release it as a Pink Floyd album. If it was me, I just would have released it as part of the Division Bell box set. That's always been my thought. Like, I'm one of the few, I don't classify it as a Pink Floyd record. I really don't, even though it came out under the Pink Floyd name. Man, it's one of those things I just wish they would have never done. Because I thought High Hopes was the perfect ending to the Pink Floyd catalog. But yeah, Rick Wright, he's all over those early albums. Like, it wasn't until I went back and listened to him discography wise, David Gilmour really didn't become a prominent vocal part guitar solo wise until Wish You Were Here. Like, he had moments on albums, but after Wish You Were Here, it was really David Gilmour kind of took more and more. And it's sad because I think, and out of the solo albums, I think Rick White's Wet Dreams, if you've never listened to that, that is a great album. The Big Prize is a great album. Never heard it. Yeah, like most stuff I listen to, or like most stuff now, I'm like, oh man, like I have so much to react to that it's like, oh geez, do I go and react to it, or do I just listen to it on my own? And I'm getting to the point with some where I might actually just start doing full album reactions instead, because it's getting to the point where it's like, holy crap, I have a lot of stuff to react to. I saw Pink Floyd once, but unfortunately, Roger Waters was already done with them. Um, I like it. I'm probably one of the few. I really love the last two, A Momentary Lapse of Reason and The Division Bell. I love those records. I think you could tell by the final cut Roger Waters was done with Pink Floyd. It was a glorified, even David Gilmour liked that album so much that he'd rather go record with Atomic Rooster on a New Wave record than work with Roger Waters. I think that said everything. But yeah, And surprisingly, out of Roger Waters' solo work, I actually really love Radio Chaos. Is my favorite of his. Even though it's very kind of dated with the sound, it's actually one of the few that I'm like, you know what, I can stomach this. And there's bits and pieces to Amuse to Death, bits and pieces to Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking. I have not listened to his new record. Like, I own it, it's there, but I haven't popped it in to listen to it yet. Have you ever watched Nightwish's cover of High Hopes? If not, did you? Yeah, that was actually one of the first reactions that I did that blew up for me. I'm like, holy crap. Like, I uploaded it, I think, late on a Friday night, and I went to bed. I woke up the next morning and I had over 2,000 views, which usually at that point I'd have maybe about 1,000. That one had double, and I gained like a gazillion subscribers from that. Nightwish's cover of High Hopes. I thought it was really well done. I thought they did a really good job. I think it's one of the few songs that Marco gets to sing, and he's fantastic to hear sing. Like, I think he's the hidden ingredient in Nightwish that really separates them, because I can agree with people. A lot of people have told me they don't like Nightwish because they don't like the vocal style, that sort of operatic. I'm like, I can stomach it. It's not bad. Really good stuff. Like, they're a band I've really, since doing this, have really enjoyed reacting to a lot of their music. What band do you wish you've seen but never got the chance to see? For me, it's Zeppelin. Oh, Jesus. Oh, who? Man, there's so many. Blue Oyster Cult would be one. Yes, would, with the lineup. With I can't even say if Yes has a classic lineup, because their lineup has changed through the years so much. Like, that's one part where people are like, classic Yes, and I'm like, well, what is it? Is it Bill on drums? Is it Alan on drums? Is it Wakeman on keyboards? Is it Mraz? Is it there's been so many guys in and out of Yes that it's kind of like, once they say the classic lineup, I don't think they even stay together for more than a couple albums at a time. Like, it's really interesting going to listen to Yes and hear all the different styles and era. But yeah, I really have to say, shit, concerts that I love. I would love to have seen Led Zeppelin around Physical Graffiti. That would have been nice to see. Um, Pink Floyd would have been another one. Yes. King Crimson, just out of morbid curiosity. Nightwish would be another one I'd like to see live. Bandmate would be another one I'd like to see live. Genesis, 3-side live concert. I would have liked to have seen all the members of Genesis back together. That would have been nice to see. Uh, Hendrix would have been one. 10 Years After, live at Woodstock, would have been another one with Alvin Lee. Just playing I'm Going Home. Great song. Oh man, there's so many great bands I wish I could have seen live. I love the last two Floyd albums. I love them. Like, I don't get the. Everyone says it sound dated. I'm like, but did anyone listen to what Gilmore, Wright, and Mason were doing prior to that? Especially Gilmore. I'm like, did you hear what he's been doing? Like, even About Face is kind of that new wavy synth pop kind of feel. Like, it had that flair on it. So when they announce Momentary Lapse of Reason, you hear it, but there's some killer tracks on there. Like, it's, I have to say, like, I think that album gets unmercifully crucified because it's 80s, and I think it's also kind of one of those where it's like, damn, the Division Bell had some tremendous timeless tracks. The return of Rick Wright, like, keyboard sound, you can tell it's there. You can tell he was also involved in the writing process. Marooned, What Does She Want From Me, Pulls Apart. I really love Coming Back to Life. I like Take It Back, Wearing the Inside Out. Even High Hopes was the perfect ending. That should have been Pink Floyd's ending. I'm one of the few Pink Floyd fans that might say that was the way they should have went out. Not the Endless River. No regrets on missed concerts. Janis Joplin, Hendrix, Beatles, Zepp. Yeah. Saw Crimson live. Did not like the show at all. I believe it was probably the venue that sucked. Worse though. That could be. Like, a shitty venue is a shitty venue. My dad said before they had what used to be, I guess, a Rexall place there. It they used to play in something called the Field House, and he said the acoustics in that building were horrible. The sound was always jumping off of walls. So, and most bands that came there got too drunk or stoned to the point to actually be able to play. So there was a lot of bands that were pretty much falling over drunk. They played their minimum 2 songs. You never got a refund because they played their 2 songs, their minimum. So he's like, yeah, there's a lot of bands. Said he once seen Carlos Santana and spent more time at the bar than actually watching Santana. I had tickets bought for the Zepp concert opener in '79, and Donham died 6 days before. That would have sucked. That would have sucked. Because, man, because I would have liked to have seen what Led Zeppelin would have done in the '80s. They're one of those bands where I thought they could have come up with a lot of really cool stuff. I would have loved to have seen The Wall. Yeah, The Wall would have been an amazing concert, especially that visual of Dave Gilmour on top of it playing that ending solo to Comfortably Numb. That's always the moment with The Wall where it's like, that's what I want to see. To me, the Division Bell could have been subtitled Roger Who. Yeah. You can tell, oh, it's the second last song on the album where pretty much David said, like, I wanted to bring him back. I wanted Barry the Hatchet to bring him back and told me to go at myself. So David Gilmour through years has not hid his disdain for Roger Waters. I think it's one of those where it was a marriage, it was a partnership that ended where it had to, and I don't think the sides can ever work together again, at least writing wise. One-off appearances here and there, I think they can stomach with each other, but don't ask them to ever get back in a writing room together. Not a big fan of Nightwish prior to Floor. She only hits the opera button very occasionally. Yeah, I can see that. A lot of people have said they really like Floor. I haven't heard enough of Annette to make a judgment on her. She seemed to have more of a poppy side to the band when she joined, but there's some still really good stuff on those albums. Where is it? Similar story here. My older brother is going to take me to see Zeppelin in Chicago at the Atmosphere, but Bonham died. Damn. No regrets on missed concerts. Janis Joplin, Hendrix, Beatles, Zepp. First concert was Rush Signals Tour '83. That would have been an awesome concert to go see. I have to say that would be a great concert. My first concert was Charlie's Daniels Band. Devil Went Down to Georgia. Styx was Zorro's first concert in '78. Never saw Styx. Loved the early days. Most disappointing concert, Rolling Stones sucks, sadly. That would suck to see the Rolling Stones not only suck, but then realize how much money you spent on tickets to see the Rolling Stones. Especially nowadays with some of their prices. I'd have been like, because I know once they came through, and I remember people saying tickets were pretty pricey, and I'm like, wouldn't it suck as if it's that one time where the Rolling Stones were kind of off that night, and maybe the police pissed them off or something. I only saw Styx once, unfortunately. It was the Kilroy tour. Still love everything they did prior to that album. Never heard Kilroy, but I've heard a lot of people talk about it as if you never want to hear Kilroy was here. Grand Illusion was a fantastic album. I've heard a couple songs off it. I say I really like it. Seconds Out live album would be a wonderful double album for Genesis to listen. Yeah, it would be. Genesis seems like a great band. Worst concert was Boston, third stage tour. They lip synced and the entire show to a pre-recorded track. Ouch! And that's in the 80s. Ooh, that'd be like some Milli Vanilli stuff there. And it sucks because Boston sounds like great a band, but it makes sense though why they would, because how much of that would they be able to recreate live? It did suck. I was a Zepp head in high school. Never saw Boston. Bummer on the concert. First album was my top 10 all-time rockers. That album is perfect. I have to say, it's perfect and it works so well that I didn't want to go listen to anything else because I'm like, I don't want to taint this album. But then I thought about it and I'm like, you know what? If the albums are worse, it just makes this one even better. I'm a 55-year-old drummer. I worship the twin altars of Bonham and Peart. Or at the twin altars of Bonham and Peart. Yeah, John Bonham, great drummer. I think everyone talks about Pat Page. Bonham and I don't think John Paul Jones gets enough credit for that band. Especially their first 4 records. John Paul Jones is amazing. He's a beast on a lot of that material. Peart, just getting into it. One album I'm sad that the band doesn't like, but I actually really dig, is Caress of Steel. I love that record. So far, it's one of the few I've heard all the way through, and I'm like, that is one of my favorite records of Rush right now. Especially when you have the Necromancer and the Fountain of Lameth and Bastille Day, Landside Park. I'm going bald, but whatever. Is what it is. The first 4 albums from Super Tramp are great too. I don't think Spotify has their first couple albums on there. I could be wrong. But I'd say from Crime to the Century to Breakfast in America. I hear from a lot of people is the best stretch. I've heard from songs from those albums, and from the songs I've heard, all agree that's a great stretch of albums. Carl Palmer was amazing. Carl Palmer is yeah, he's a guy that I think through the years has been kind of left by the wayside, but he was very much as people talk about Keith Emerson and Greg Lake, from what I've heard, Carl Palmer's one of the hidden weapons in that band. I was shocked to find he actually did his first album with Atomic Rooster. Oh, what else did he? I believe he was also in Asia. Yeah, Asia, I think he was in as well. Because I've heard the song Heat of the Moment. That's pretty much all I've heard from that one. But yeah. I was actually a fan of Flora long before she joined Nightwish. I was listening to her first band after forever since the first album came out in 2000. She was just a teenager then. Yeah, I want to go back there and discover some of her early stuff. I know she's also worked with Arjun Anthony Lucasen of Arian Project, and some of that stuff's fantastic. Like, he's a guy that I would love to just pick his brain for what he's thinking. Oh, what's the next one? If you want great hard rock from a band no one will think of or make one, is Toto. Girl Goodbye, one of the best all-time screams at the rhythm section, so kills it. Yeah, I've heard of Toto. Lay It on the... No, or not Lay It. They're... Oh, what's that song they're famous for? Not Africa. Hold the Line, I believe it's called. And I only reason I know it or really remember it a lot is because Frank Zappa made fun of it, of On the Bus or Total Line, that whole part he did there where guitar soloed, but it's very similar to that. That's always what I think of. But yeah, I want to also check out Toto quite a bit because they said a lot of his stuff before their Africa album is actually really killer. There's a band in the 80s called Dream Academy, very pop. Big hit was Life in a Northern Town. Album was produced by David Gilmour. He co-wrote a few songs and played guitar on a couple. That'd be great. I'd actually like to really check that out and see Dream Academy. Okay. John Paul on the Lemon Song, and I've said yes. Fantastic. One of my all-time favorites. Lemon Song kicks ass. Caress of Steel is finally getting some love 45 years later. The Necromancer is insanely awesome. That's the first Rush song I ever reacted to on this channel. And the Necromancer, for me, is, even after hearing a lot of the other songs, a lot of songs people say in their top 5, I would put the Necromancer in my top 10 Rush songs. Because it's fantastic. Like, it's the perfect meld of Geddy's hard, harsher style vocal, and also some mellow. Like, I like mellow Geddy. Palmer is still playing Living Sin. Listen to the drum track, awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. Jim gotta go, Wayne, Zora Michael, have a great night, keep rock alive. Yeah, have a good night there, Jim. Hope to see you in the next stream, whenever that is. I was thinking of doing one later this week, but then I realized, oh crap, I work this weekend, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to do one. Hold the Line off the first album. Try Girl Goodbye, you'll be shocked how good, yeah. 2112 is where I left off with Rush. Sorry, just my opinion. Yeah, there's a lot of people who I've heard say 2112, maybe to Moving Pictures, but they said after that they were done. Once they kind of went that synthy pop, I don't mind it, but that's also I'm not like one of the hardcore fans, so I never grew up with it to have a what's the word? I never grew up with it to really have an opinion or to have a love hate relationship. It's one of the great parts, kind of, about being where I am, because a lot of the stuff I can just go check out a lot of the records. Like, I can just check out the records that are already out there and I can listen to them in order and they're not having to wait anymore. It's kind of what I'm getting at. Arjun Anthony Lucassen is a genius. Besides Arian, he also has these which are just good, just as good. Star One, The Gentle Storm, Guilt Machine, Ambrian. Yeah, he has so much stuff. Like, it's amazing all this rock operas he's able to just pump out. One I want to do is a full album because it's really hard to do as an actual single song reaction. Is I believe it's called The Theory of Everything or Chaos of Everything. It's one of those. I love that. I just love that stuff from him. He is one of those musical geniuses. I've always thought about doing a thing of 5 people in music I'd love to have dinner with and just pick their brain. He's in there, Kate Bush is in there, David Gilmour is in there, John Anderson of Yes is in there, and oh man. And the 5th I go back and forth on so many different people because it's like 5. Once you get past 5, it's like I don't want to have a dinner party with too many people. It's like, yeah, so Crime of the Century, Crisis, White Crisis, and Even in the Quietest Moments are simply genius from Supertramp. Yes, I would agree. I've worked my way pretty much through most of Crime of the Century to where it's becoming one of my top albums. I love that record so much. Even in the Quietest Moments has some killer tracks. Fool's Overture's on there. I believe actually their biggest hit is actually on there, which is saying something. But I have to say though, every time I see or I might be one of the few in here that would watch the movie Daddy's Home 2. It's a Will Ferrell movie, but it's played right at the beginning. And every time I hear that video, it's like, yeah, now I want to go listen to more Supertramp. It's great stuff. Early Tramp, I love. My First Girlfriend was nuts over the band, and it was always on. Yeah, it's great stuff. I remember seeing album covers on 8 tracks, but I never sat down and listened to any of them. Like, Supertramp was one of that band, especially the album Breakfast in America. Like, I know the Logical song, Take the Long Way Home is actually really deep, really interesting. The lyrics to a lot of their stuff is interesting, where they're talking about stuff like feeling massively like isolated, alienated, not living by living up to society standards type stuff, wanting to just throw it all away. Really interesting topics in a lot of their songs, especially their hits, are very deep. Or as my dad liked to say, thinking man music. The Theory of Everything. Yes, that's a record because I know it has Emerson on it. I believe it also has Rick Wakeman on it. Like, there's so many guest musicians on this. Not only musicians, but singers. To where I'm like, oh my goodness, this might... Because I thought about doing it originally but I could never figure out how to do it except doing the album in its entirety. And that's the only way I could think about doing it. I'd have the same at my dinner, but also add Bowie and Ian Anderson. Yeah, it's always trying to find out that fifth person, and I'm like, well, one day it's this guy, one this person. I also thought about doing a whole thing where I have different dinners for different genres type thing, or guitar players, or it's a whole series where it could go wherever it wanted to. It's really an interesting concept. I'm like, you know what? There's something there. Because I was thinking to myself one day, who in music alive would I actually have over for dinner? And keep it to 5. And I'm like, well, Gilmore's a must. John Anderson's a must. Just because John Anderson seems like the most happiest man in the world. That's why I'd put John Anderson there. Kate Bush, because of her pop, how she melded proggy pop, art rock all together to make these very catchy hits. And she seemed like she'd be a genuinely nice, pleasant person to chat with, but who knows? Yeah, and Arjun Anthony Lucassen, just for his album writing ability. It'd be great. Great to really look at. Joe Walsh, Joe Walsh has to be there for dinner. Gotta have Joe. Oh man, Joe Walsh. Oh. Now, are we talking like Hotel California Joe Walsh, or are we talking about different Joe Walsh? Damn it, where did I put it? Oh, there we go. But yeah, Joel, she'd be interesting. If I'd have the same at my dinner, but add Bowie. Yeah, I read that one already. Ian, yes. Carl Palmer, Joe Walsh, Al Diamola, Mozart. That is my dinner. That'd be a very interesting dinner. New video series, Dream Dinners. Yeah, that'd be a great name for a series. Dream Dinners, Dinner for 5. Yeah. Scratch Mozart. Scratch Mozart if they have to be alive. Yeah, that's the one thing I did because I'm like, well, I have to have some parameters around here. Them being alive would probably be number 1 because it'd be pretty weird just having a coffin of Mozart right there. No Eagles. James Gang Joe. Okay. I always thought of a great idea for a series, and this would just be 100%. And I wonder how long before somebody walked out of this or got beat up. Have the dinner of musicians with the biggest egos. And I'm like thinking to myself, who would be in there? There'd be Richie Blackmore. There would have to be the guy with the hugest ego in the world, Yngwie Malmsteen. Lars Ulrich from Metallica would have to be in there. I'm trying to think who else has a really, really massive ego. I'd put Pete Townsend in there. Oh man. Number 5's really hard. Massive. I might actually put Axl Rose in there. Man, that would be an interesting dinner. Either they'd all get along, or by the end of it, everyone's yelling at each other and like, man, that'd be a great dinner. The guys with the biggest egos. Ted Nugent would have to be at the All Egos dinner. Oh, man. Oh, man, that would be... Oh, I just thought about that. Ted Nugent, Richie Blackmore, Yngwie Malmsteen, Lars Ulrich, and Ted Nugent. Oh, man. The only worrisome thing I would be worried about is Ted Nugent having weapons at this dinner. would Ted Nugent come unarmed, unbared? It's like, oh. Yeah, Boy Funk number 49, Woman Walk Away, Early, or Tommy Boy and James Gang was great. Yeah. Since he is charging $4,500 Springsteen. Oh man, Bruce Springsteen. He's one of those guys I never got the love for Bruce Springsteen. Like the T, I guess that might be why I'm not like the biggest fan of Springsteen to begin with, but to charge people $4,500 for a concert, that's insane. Like, who's gonna show? Like, question is, where is this concert? Because if it's in New York, I think you could have enough people with enough disposable income to maybe justify it. But I'm like, just out of sheer principle, I'd never spend $4,500 to see anyone. Nugent is an all-time prick. Yeah. He's always been kind of... I tend to not listen to Ted Nugent's politics too much. That's more my thing. I'm just more into the music of Ted Nugent, and I try to leave all his other stuff out of the way. But yeah, Nugent would end up in the with. Here's the question: who would he end up in the fist fight with? Yngwie first, or Richie Blackmore, Lars Ulrich, Axl Rose, or Pete Townsend? Who would be the first guy to want to kick his ass? Because that would be an awesome fight. Blackmore gets along with no one. Well, I guess the best way to put it, Richie Blackmore has never met a Renaissance fair or maiden he probably didn't like, because I think he's more happy now playing Renaissance music and just doing that. Nugent Blackmore. This iPad keyboard is not my friend. Oh man. Oh Jesus, that just got me thinking, man. Oh, that gave me another great idea. Another great idea I have is sort of like rock and roll fight club with the biggest egos, where they all fight and see who wins the whole thing. Because man, oh Jesus. Part of me wants to say actually David Lee Roth versus Nugent in a singing contest. Oh man, oh man. Another one I think you can put in there is a Robert Fripp. I never really got Springsteen's appeal either. People say he's the voice of a generation. I think Joe Strummer spoke to me as a generational figure. To me, as a generational figure than Springsteen. Yeah, I never got it. Like, even talking to people who lived through the 80s, they're like, I don't understand Springsteen's, like, love. Like, is it over romanticized? I didn't care much for Born in the USA. Like, wasn't my thing. Maybe it's because I'm not American. I just, there's certain stuff, and then I'm listening to some of the stuff, and I'm like, I don't get it. But also, I can fall in that same line with, I understand where Bob Dylan was a voice of a generation, or Jim Morrison was a voice, a more the rock voice of a generation. Who would have been the '70s voice of their generation? That's interesting. But yeah, I would never enjoy Bruce Springsteen enough to spend $4,500. That's insane. That's up there with I know one concert the Stones charged an outrageous amount. People were very upset over that. Man, David Lee Roth versus Ted Nugent. I still can't get over that. That would be an interesting Fight Club type thing. I think you could probably throw Tommy Lee in there. The better one, Tommy Lee versus Nikki Sixx, would probably actually be a more accurate portrayal. I'll never forget my dad walks into the room and I was playing Springsteen album. My dad says, "Is that record in the right speed?" LOL. Yeah, that would do it. Man, on the right speed, man. It'd be like one of those back in the '70s where you take it and every album sounds like the Chipmunks. That would be a interesting thing to say the least. Oh man, there's yeah, it's one of those interesting concept dinners and all that. But well, you have a great day. Mine is just starting here. Cheers. Cheers to you too, Michael. It was nice chatting with you. Come along anytime. Usually my streams, I'll give at least with my streams. I want to at least give a few days before I do them. So just check out my timeline and you'll usually find out when the next stream is. I usually try and make sure you guys have a lot of time to be able to plan if you want to see it or check it out. That's one thing that sucks here about being in North America is that the time difference with some places absolutely sucks. Yeah. Yeah, the one guy I can never though see ever getting in a fight is John Anderson. He's the one guy. I'm like, you know what? That guy looks like the most happiest man in the world, and that he just wants everyone to get along. So, yeah, that's always my opinion on that. 12 hours different. Okay, so about 14 hours different from me. So that would be what that is. Yeah, that's insane. Like I remember for international travel, all the kids went over to Japan and that, and or at least the ones that could afford to go. And that was interesting when they talked about coming back and just how off they felt afterwards. Speaking of Joe Strummer, you should check out some of his post Clash stuff. Joe Strummer and the Mascaleros. Lots of world music mixed with more mainstream rock. Yeah, I'll check that out. I'm one of the few probably that knows probably one or two songs by The Clash, and that's it. I I was never a massive punk guy because a lot of it, granted, sounded very, very rough. And when I was getting into music, like Pink Floyd was one of my first, and everything was so clean and sounded good that going even the Sex Pistols was a very shock. And I'm like, took me a while to even warm up to that. So I'm like, man. But yeah, I've never. So he's the guy from The Clash. Okay. So I'll definitely check him out. There's so much music out there that it's like, man, not enough hours in the day. Not enough hours in the day to listen to it all. But I started coming up with this playlist last night, and I think I got up to, oh geez, does it tell me here? 518 songs. I think I'm at about 80 hours, 60 to 80 hours of music on it, and I'm like, damn. And I haven't even scratched the surface of everything I want on here, so. Well, anyway, I guess I'll let you guys go tonight. I have to say it was really nice chatting with you guys. Coma Girl is a good song, but I'll definitely check them out. Yeah, gotta sit down, have dinner. It was nice chatting with everybody. I really enjoy these. I'll give you guys a few days heads up when the next stream is. I'm not sure if it's going to be Saturday or not because I do work. So that would push the time back. Because usually when I like to do these, I like to do these very, hopefully a lot earlier than this. So it does allow more people more time to see it. But anyway, I have to say thank you guys so much. It really means a lot. Yeah, just also down below, if there's anything also you want me to react to, just put it down below. I love discovering new music, checking new music out, chatting with you guys has really become a joy. I started doing this last week, and I have to say I love it. It's really good. You guys are amazing. So yeah, that's my live stream for tonight. See you guys next stream. Probably will be. I might do it Sunday. It could be Sunday. So Saturday, Sunday, somewhere in there's gonna be the next stream. But anyway, nice to you guys. Peace.